Okay, tracing where the wires go. This is going to be interesting. My headlights are not giving power. Okay, let me interrupt myself right there. First of all, I struggled mightily with this diagram. I hadn't even realized I'd only printed half of the diagram, and as you can see, all the wires run off the right-hand side of the diagram. When I figured that out and printed the other diagram and taped them together, I had a much better experience of figuring out which wires go where. But in summary of this video, what I discovered was a method of sort of borrowing the power from another piece of the relay board that was also powering another circuit. So in a way, the end solution is here, and I can install this back in the bike, and it's all working again. But going through the wiring diagram helped me understand how it was possible that I had something that was burned out. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is trace back, just starting with the low beam headlight over here, and just following the black and highlighting it with blue. So let's try that. Black is definitely running out of here. Comes all the way back here to here to here to here. Here. That's going out to, let's follow this very carefully so we only have to glance at it. Fan and horn. It's just not really important to us because it's just providing, these things are joining like a stream. Okay. More importantly, it goes back here. And here's where it crosses the two pages. It follows, it's this top line. It's here. And then it comes down. That's still the same wire. This is still the same wire. And this is the frame grounding point. So it runs to the frame grounding point, which is what I was doing on that when I was holding it against the frame there that one time when I was checking for power on pin number 1 and 2. So the black goes to the ground, and the frame grounding point seems to go out to a lot of other devices on here. Okay, now it's time to trace for red. Geez, I wonder if I should find something else besides a yellow highlighter, but let's try. Okay, headlight red, right there. And it goes here. Now here it just joins us. What is this mess? Left switch housing. I have no idea how to read this thing right here to say what is actually going on, because it seems that reds and blacks attach to the same place. Maybe they're just trying to say it's a board and you have no control over the wiring that goes on inside there, but let's follow the other direction. Goes here, stops, turns, down, 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 and here it's red again, coming to another pinout. So maybe these are pinouts. So this is the pinout for the relay box. So that's where it comes in there, the red, yellow. Okay, So we know it leads to the relay box. I suspect that they're trying to say, here's the continuation. Okay, so let's say it is this continuation. Then that means it's one of the closing gates. And we said that the red, we believe that that's pin number 1. Okay, so that's pin number 1, we're pretty sure. And then the blue was pin number 11. So this closed contact area, this other side coming back out, is a, what color is that saying? What color is that? It's just like 0Y. It's not red/yellow. It's this weird 0Y. I can see 0Ys coming out elsewhere too. I don't know what color to trace that with, but we'll just say it's going to yellow because this is a switch, which is going to close contact between the two. So we'll come back out here. And it comes over here. And it's over here again. And that is the fuse box. Okay. So the fuse box, I'm probably doing this off camera. That leads over to the fuse box, which we said the headlight is just fine for the fuse box. But we know we're not getting power on pin number 2, so let's trace that one. So here's pin number 2, should close this relay. I'm going to trace that with blue again. Pin number 2. What's it going to? Aha! The alternator, or basically the magneto that's generating all the power. I forget what they called that thing when I replaced it. Here they call it the alternator, though. Magneto would be a different thing, like a lawnmower. So that goes all the way back, and I don't get power on that one. So that thing was replaced a year ago. This baby. And maybe there's a problem with the wire in there. Because when that burned out, it did, and it had to be replaced, it did blow the main fuse. So maybe that wire actually has a problem. Well, that's something to look at. I'm also remembering, when replacing that, I actually had to take every type of liquid out of the motorcycle, including gasoline, because the tank had to come off, the oil had to get changed, the coolant had to be disconnected, everything had to be disconnected except brake fluid to get at that thing. And I don't think I'm going to do that again. I had to put liquid sealer and gasket on there, all kinds of junk to get out the wiring at that level. What I need to do is find out where it comes out and if it plugs into something I can't remember, or trace it on the harness. Geez, I don't know. It goes all the way to this relay box. If it is just the triggering part that's not supplying the power I want, it's not the higher, what do you call that? The thicker wire. It's a thinner gauge wire. I could probably just steal that electricity from something else. I could steal that power from, say, the fuel pump. So when the fuel pump turns on, which turns on right when the key turns on, the problem is it'll turn my headlights on, but I don't care that much about it. I don't want to try and trace all that wiring back and find out where that's broken. I know that sounds horrible, but I might, right here on the relay board, steal water from the fuel pump. The fuel pump's number 4 over here. And the pins are on the very same connector as this one. So I could just jumper it across. Oh, I think I'm going to do that. I don't want to rip apart the whole engine again to deal with the alternator. And that's just to figure out a wire connection to the alternator. A little bit of thinking to do. So basically what I'm planning is pin number 2, I'm going to make one assumption. Pin number 1 may not be the problem because I'm not getting anything flowing through pin number 1 because this contact isn't made. So let's say pin number 2 is the problem. I should be getting power from pin number 2. If pin number 2 is supposed to trigger this relay to close, and it only happens once the engine's running, which is when the alternator is generating enough voltage to do it, then what I can do is go for the fuel pump. If we look here, a fuel pump is relay C, and I know some of its cables are on the very same pin out, but I actually don't care about that. I just care about where the fuel pump gets either 9 or 10. How do I know which direction the electricity flows from? And do I care? Because if the fuel pump turns on, I can draw electricity over to this relay to turn this one on. And because all it's doing is triggering the relay, hopefully that's not a problem. It's not the load circuit. So if I jumper from 9 or 10, shouldn't matter, over to pin number 2, I should get this relay closes and the headlight turns on. That's what I'm going to test. All right, 9 and 10 are the ones that trigger the relay. That's where I want to draw power from, 9 and 10. So I'm going to jumper over from either 9 or 10 pin over to number 2. So let's find out where 9 and 10 are. There's 9, there's 10. Now, 9. Okay, so they're definitely there. 10 is there. That means it's the outside bump. This should be 10. And it's the bottom, or it's the closest pin. So let's just set it up so we're giving power to 10. And we're going to set the negative up to 9. 9 is the other pin. Okay, if that's happening correctly, and let me squeeze this down a bit. This thing is not gripping very well. Now it's gripping too well. Okay, so I got 9 and 10 hooked up. Got my voltage fun going on here. See if I can keep all these things in the diagram visible. All right, let's turn power on for that. Test. Okay, so it's giving us 12 volts. Now I should be able to measure the voltage, direct current voltage, from those two places. Relay number, or actually the pins. So we said this would be pin 10. There's nothing happening there, of course. Then this would be a cross and down one. And there we go. So now we're getting 12 volts, 1231. And that thing's saying 1216, but I don't know how accurate those things are. So we're getting 1231 volts between those two pins. That's good. So if I jumper either one of those two, the pin I was expecting power from. Now I wonder if I should go straight. Pin number 2 is black. Should I go straight to the black? I think so. Bypass the diodes? Or no, the safest thing might be to go behind the diodes. Go across to the pin. I think I'm going to do that. So now it's going to take some more setup. All right, let's see if I eliminated the boring stuff for you. Okay, first of all, we proved that the fuel pump relay for C, is 9 and 10. 9 and 10, we said were these two pins. And we're getting 12.32 volts from there when this thing's hooked up. So I've got a red and a blue, and that makes for these two connections of 12 point. So now we're going to jumper from one of those over to black to see if we can close the gate. Now to close the gate on black, which is pin number 2, we have to have pin number 11. Now I apologize that I've used a red wire to connect pin number 11, but really that leads back to the negative in this confusion of wiring over here. So when we jumper from the black is pin number 2, from either one of those locations, we should hear the relay click. And we do. So that means I'm going to go from this pin over here. I'm going to jumper over to this black. And I'm going to steal the power that I'm not getting from that other wire. Now, since this is just designed to trigger relays, it's not a load. You know, these are lower gauge items. I'm really hoping that's not a problem. But I gotta tell you guys, this isn't my area of expertise, so I could be doing something vaguely foolish here. But I'm desperate. I want these headlights working, and I don't want to tear apart the engine and replace 3 liquids again all over to trace wiring inside the, what they're calling the alternator on this diagram. All right, so that's the next step. Jumper there to there. Wait, let me get that right again. I think it's right next to this number 5. Could go from here as well. No, I can't go from there. It's from number 5. There is on the other side of the thing. That's probably why it doesn't do it. That's interesting. Let me check the voltage that's going through, because there could be a resistor there, so it doesn't work from the other direction. So 5 to black is 12 volts. The other pin to black isn't even any volts, so it should be these 2 pins. Top and second one in should come here. That relay is closed. I believe it's closed. But even if it's not closed, it is telling me that the power is coming from this one to close this relay. So that's where I should jumper. That's what I'll do. Okay, I'm taking a bit of a shortcut here, but don't know if I should be filming all this amateur stuff going down, but here we go. I'm going to try and solder that to that. I'm going to have to get make it some kind of contact. I tin the wire, but I'm not real happy with this method. As you can see, I don't have enough flux in there, so it makes those little peaks. Well, let's see. No. I'm not sure how I'm going to pull this off. I don't have 3 hands. This is ridiculous. Wonder if this will work. Oh, that's horrifying. I wonder if I bring the wire down already, then there's less of that outward force. And let's see if this helps. Did it again, dang it. Alright, that seems to be about the best I can do. Let me reduce that peak over there. Come on, get away from there. Alright, now let's make this mess join up. Woo! Sorry about all the cringing that's going on out there as I do this. Wonder if hot glue conducts. So I'd love to cover this all with hot glue so nothing can touch it. No, this is horrifying. Even I'm cringing. Ugh. It doesn't feel good, but at least it's enough to test it. I'm going to test it first and decide later if I've got to do something different. All right. If If that works, I should hear the loud relay close. And I did. So now I can test if that actually works on the machine. It doesn't melt anything. And we'll see. Let me shut down my electrical here. And try it out. Off to the garage. Oops, I'm just noticing something. I set this up in the wrong angle. I need to go across the board and up this way so that both ends of this can go out the relay and I can actually access it after I've closed all this up. So I have to change this one. Oh, this is going to be annoying. All right, let's see here. Come on, girl. Let's go. I wonder if that did it. Might be good enough for government work. Let's see. So now I can have this wire come through and out where all these things are going to come out of the box. And now I have access to it and maybe even put a switch on here. I'm not sure yet. But at least I want access to this wire so that maybe I put a quick disconnect if I didn't like what was going on. First we'll test. All right, so we're going to plug this relay back into here and leave it out loosely and try to start the engine and see if that turns the headlight on. Actually, I may not even have to start the engine because I jumpered it from the fuel pump connection. So should actually come on right away when I turn the key. The headlight should come on. Just to reduce the load, I think I'm going to, although it shouldn't matter. Make sure the headlight, high beam is off. Okay, so that's the relay hooked up. Let's see if you can see the front of the bike here. I'm going to turn this on. Well, the fuel pump's on, but no headlight. But maybe because pin number 1 doesn't get anything until the engine's running. So let's see. After doing that, there's no... I have to get my voltmeter out here and see if I'm getting power again. Oh, geez, how am I going to connect that? Now I have to repin everything. Maybe pin number 1 and number 2 aren't getting any power. So I can check the voltmeter there to see if that is getting power after that relay closes. And that relay should close as soon as I turn the key on. I should hear it. And it does. Makes a click, but you can also hear the... Let me try that again. We know the fuel pump's still working because it was running a good while there. Okay, I can see whether the headlight's getting power when it closes the relay. Can even check if pin 1 is getting power if I figure out which one it is. I'll try that next. Well, looky here. Headlight not plugged in properly. That's a problem. I wonder if that's been my... No, it hasn't been my problem all along because I've been measuring the wires output and I get nothing. So amateur hour here. Sorry, guys. Let me bring you up to date with what I've done here. Remember I did a little patch cable, so as soon as the relay for the, well, whatever gives power to the relay for the fuel pump will get power to the headlights. So what my theory was, as soon as I turn the key on then, because the fuel pump comes on, so should the headlight. Oh, and look at that, the headlight does. Crap. So the real reason was my headlight wasn't plugged in properly right there. I had to do a patch cable because it melted it down later. And I obviously have to do a better patch cable now. However, now I have to ask myself, was that little relay necessary? Do I care? The big relay was definitely necessary. Was the little one, that little short-cutting thing needed? I don't know. Let's turn this thing on. High beams and low beams. I think I'm really tempted now just to leave it and fix that headlight so that it can't become disconnected. And that'll need a proper wiring job. Yeah. I'm going to have to sit out here in the garage. It's winter time here in Canada, but not that wintry. Look at it there. That's not too bad. No snow. January. And please don't ask. So I decided to do one more test, which was cut that little patch cable, just in case it was the idea that I didn't have my headlights. And sure enough, as soon as I cut that patch cable, no headlights anymore. Those are the running lights that you see on the sides. No headlights. So it means that little patch actually had an effect, which means I have to put this cable back together. Oh well, at least we've proven that it wasn't just me having the headlights disconnected. Well, just in case you couldn't hear that when I had the engine running in the car, you've seen where the headlights are working because I did this patch cable from this pin over to the black, which is one of the supplies that triggers the relay. Immediately after cutting that cable, it doesn't work even when the engine's running. So I'm going to put this back together and we should be back in business. All right, so basically patching over to this pin here from that pin right there was what I did with this, and it's an extra long cable. Mostly because in the back of my mind, I was just trying to make sure that if I needed to make this a switch or turn it off or unplug it or something, I could get at it. So I didn't want it to be tucked too far in behind. It's probably unnecessary to make it that big. So I shrink wrapped a little bit around there to contain it. Now, all of you can see that this container still needs its cover put back on. And I can't even remember if I already made an opening for these wires or not. And, oh, look at that. Yes, I did. So I had already cut out a section of this, knowing that either this worked or I had to get a new one anyway. So now to make this fit, we're really going to have to lay down each wire individually. These can't be stacked on top of each other going through this section. So let's figure out, where does that, can the blue wire go on the other side of those poles? I think it can. So the blue wire can go there. The red wire has to lay down there. The black one there. The white one maybe can fit between the black and the red. And then these two little reds can squish out beside it. Let's hope that this actually works. Well, don't know if I should just not tighten these screws too dang much, or just tighten them in the back and leave them kind of open in the front, because I don't really have those wires stacked, and yet it seems pretty hard to squish this down. How does that work out? Not bad, but I really don't feel too comfortable clamping that down too hard. So let's just put those screws in a little bit lightly in the front. Where is my screwdriver? I think that's a bit too small. It'll do. Also prevent me from clamping down too tight on this. Oh my gosh, all that stuff. I hope it wasn't off camera. Put my two screws in. Flatten these. And I'll put these screws in a little lighter. Maybe let the glue gun take care of the rest so that those wires don't get damaged. Four screws in. These ones not incredibly tight. You can see there's a gap there. I don't know. Let me try that. Squeezing that down just a bit. Maybe better not. That's good enough. And here. Now, this was quite the sealed package before, and it's not right now. So I think I'm going to put some glue gun in here. Also to prevent any wiggling wires from rubbing, but also to seal it off so that this is kind of sealed weather-wise. You can see right there I've got a gap too. So, let me go get the glue gun. Alright. Glue gun, here we are. I'm going to use it to seal this off. Be careful because the glue gun is pretty hot. It's also pretty darn successful at gluing. I was surprised. I thought it would come off in some easy fashion, but it does not. Pretty hard to actually take off. So if I don't want things to be too permanent, I have to be careful how much I put and where I put it. And my real design here is just to seal it off. That's what I'm focusing on. Weather seal it. I'm not too worried about conductivity. I've seen where glue guns were used to actually support wires much like this in a inverter installation or inverter manufacturing, actually. So it acted as a way to reinforce the wires so that there was no jiggling loose of the connections. Okay, that's that. I'm not going to put that around the sides. I think that the glue is too strong, and if I did have to take this apart, it would make it unmanageable. I think around the sides I am going to put a little bit of tape though, just to kind of weather seal it a little bit. So let me see, I've got some right here. It's going to be ordinary Scotch tape. It's not awesome, but it's a little bit better. Motorcycle doesn't have a snorkel on it, so I don't have to worry about going through the water like if it was a dirt bike. Okay, that should cover it. I'm certainly not worried about reselling this bike. It's a beginner bike and it's got 60,000 kilometers on it, so no, we're just making do with what we have. Seeing if we can get a working bike again, plus learning. All right, I hope this gives you a good view of what I'm doing. So I'm plugging this back in. Now, based on the way these things are supposed to connect, these wires are gonna kind of sit underneath there. And by the way, these kind of make a sealed connection. I know that when I pop them off, sometimes they make a little sound. So I think there's a rubber seal in there to keep the weather out, which is actually kind of nice. Makes me feel better. I don't know if I'm going to go as far as to attach this relay to anything. I'll let it dance around a while. I'm not looking for a whole lot of kilometers to still function on this bike. And then I'm going to snap it down into place. Okay, you can see there's two plastic pieces here. And there we go. Sounds awful, but it's now firmly in place and not really shaking around. I think this will work. So, with that being in place, really I just want to check, did I screw anything else up? Turn that on. The headlight's on, so definitely that patch cable was necessary in my state. Who knows if your bike is having problems delivering power to that pin. But it was a neat little workaround. And it was just for the relay. It wasn't for the load. So I'm less worried about, you know, the state of electrical sharing of that power. So here I'm going to start it up too. And high beams. Low beam, high beam. Obviously, I got a bit of work to do to put this baby back together, but I'm definitely not going to bore you guys with that stuff. This was mostly focused on electricity and less on motorcycle maintenance. There's a lot of great videos there too on how to tear apart your Ninja. So with that, I'm so glad to have had this solution. If there's any questions, by all means, post comments as much as you like. I'm really going to answer them because I was so glad when other people put their information online. And, you know, we'll all help each other out. And no barriers to doing it ourselves. Thanks, guys.